Sharifa George, Public Relations Coordinator of APUA, and welcome to Necessary Conversations with APUA, where we have topical discussions about matters that impact you, our customers. APUA has made great strides in modernizing its services with the introduction of the APUA Online Bill Payment Portal and the Mobile Payment Center. But we're not done yet. APUA takes another step into the future with smart metering. And having a conversation with us today is Customer Service Engineer within the APUA Electricity Business Unit, Gavin Piggott, who is no stranger to Necessary Conversations, and Consumer Services Engineer within the Water Business Unit, Mr. McClure Simon. Welcome back, Gavin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And welcome, McClure.
Thank you.
So, Gavin, we've had your story before. You're not new to Necessary Conversations. But McClure, let's give our audience an opportunity to get to know who you are.
I started out at the Liberta Primary School, and back in those days, we used to have what is called infants, right? No, not kindergarten like today. And something that is unique to that is anyone who has gone through Liberta School, starting from infants, know that there are two things you do every year. One, you'll go up every function and say, welcome, welcome, friends. So we're glad to have you here. And there would be the famous field trip that goes from school to Potworks Dam, encompassing the Labs treatment plant, the Deepwater Harbor, and ending at the St. John's Cathedral. So my first interaction with APUA Water and the Labs would have been that field trip when I was, still an infant. Later, several years later, I returned to APUA as a trainee plumber. Then I was transferred to the water lab under the supervision of Joseph Hunt, you may know him as Calypso Joe. Based on my discussions with Mr. Hunt, I got my first formal training in water, where I was sent to University of Technology, Jamaica. And after that, I did go on to study civil engineering. Returned to authority sometime 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. And incidentally, one of the first projects that I was given was to work along with the source and treatment department to install bulk meters on our product lines, and most especially the product line at the Labs treatment plant. Now, the Labs was constructed in 1972-73. Those drawings that were supposed to show where everything was, they used tree lines as benchmark. You can imagine that 30 odd years later, the tree line is not the same as in 1972.
Tree line, what's that?
The line of trees.
An actual
line of trees.
Line of trees, okay.
Yeah, that's what they used before for boundaries and property lines and all that. So I was taking measurements, none made sense because we're ending up all over the place digging. And then it occurred to me, why not ask the plant supervisor who had just retired? That was Mr. Lincoln Reefer. So I called Mr. Reefer and he said, there used to be a manhole at the back there where we used to show school children the line. And like a time warp, I started reflecting back when I was there as an infant and remembered where the students were gathered and all that. And I went back downstairs and told the backup man, dig right here. And when he started to dig, he said he heard the grating on the manhole and we found a line that we couldn't find for how long, just because of my experience visiting the plant as an infant.
That's a nice story. It's a success story and a bit of nostalgia as well. That's really nice. So let's get into the conversation about smart metering, otherwise referred to as AMI, Automated Metering Infrastructure. Is that right, Gavin? Did I get it right?
No, I didn't.
Oh, no. What is it?
Advanced Metering Infrastructure.
Advanced Metering Infrastructure. Thank you for that. So what is an AMI? What is a smart meter?
So a smart meter simply is a device. It's a metering device that can measure different parameters. So in respect to electricity, smart meter would be a device that can measure parameters such as voltage, current, power factor, and various other components, as well as do it remotely, different to how we read meters today. which is actually physically going to the property and reading what's on the register. In respect to a smart meter, that can either be done remotely by you actually in front of your computer screen, or it can just be an automated process that's all collected and you refer to at some other time. That's simply what it is, simply a device. And in respect to water, it might measure in terms of the volume, the amount of water, the amount of air or so forth within the water meters. And then in gas, so you have different types of smart meters. So you have electric smart meters, water smart meters, and gas smart meters. In Antigua, in our case, we're only looking to use two types, right? Water and electric. And so that's what it is.
McClure, are there any other properties that Gavin might not have mentioned that smart meters for water can pick up on?
The water smart meters can give you pressure, flow rates. Some can even tell you the temperature and water quality at any given time. So in our case, a smart meter represents a meter that can give you more information than just a meter consumption at the end of the month.
Okay. So what meters are we currently using on the system for both water and electricity? But we're at water right now, so let's go ahead and talk about that.
Well, over the years, we have had several pilots testing different types of smart metering. We have electromagnetic smart meters, and you have ultrasonic smart meters in water. We have tested 1 electromagnetic smart meter and 3 ultrasonic smart meters. Right now, the current smart community is using electromagnetic smart meters.
And where's that smart community?
The smart community is in the Bat Lodge presently, or we call it Route 106.
Okay. Gavin, what about you? What kind of meters are we using right now for electricity? What have we tested as it relates to smart meters?
So all our meters are electronic or solid state in nature, and the meters we accustomed to use or we used to use before were a lot of electromechanical meters. There's still a lot of those meters still exist, probably between 40, 45, close to even 50% electromechanical meters still exist. So now we're trying to change out to the electronic. They're more accurate, which means we'll capture the consumption a lot more accurately. And that's what we're doing. We're also deployed our meters in terms of this project in the Bath Lodge area, in conjunction with the water business unit. And we have to do it together. It's the best thing for us to do so that we can, the way we read meters, we read electricity and water together. And so by actually having both the electricity department or business unit and the water business unit do this together, we're able to read an area together at the same time, and it reduces or improves efficiency in terms of reading these meters, okay?
So we spoke a little bit about the properties of the meters, but I want to speak about the benefits more specifically as it relates to the authority as the provider of the service and as consumers. So we'll start with you, Gavin.
So the benefit is that we will be able to improve efficiency in terms of how we read our meters, okay? We'll also be able to capture a lot more data accurately. AMI, it's not, we speak of it as smart metering, but the way it's used today, it's a complete infrastructure to do multiple things. So we don't just have meters installed, but we also have smart controllers installed on the lights, on some of our lights that we've installed as well. So we could actually control the dim settings. We could turn on and off the lights. We could make them flicker if we wanted to. So if, for instance, if we had all our street lights with this controller on them, and for instance, there was a fire that the fire department didn't know where it was. If we could pick this up on our GIS network, we could actually show them the location by making these lights flicker, or even by changing the color. And so there's so many creative things you can do with them. So it's more of a complete infrastructure in terms of how you do business. And So the benefit, to continue on, the benefit is improve efficiency, reduce losses. We can determine also tampering, which is another thing that happens with us as well. You could use it for multiple things in terms of givings, maybe even create a new business model where you can sell data to customers. There are customers that want to put in renewable energy systems, but they would like to know exactly how large a system they need. By having this smart meter, you now have a lot of historical data that you can maybe provide to the customer, probably at a fee, whereby you say, all right, fine, this is what your load profile truly look like. And you can then sell that to a designer to use to say, all right, fine, this is the size system, so that they're not oversized or undersized. So there are multiple things you can do with this technology. Multiple benefits. And I think it's beneficial to the customer to know exactly what they're consuming, what they're using, and also it helps in terms of consistent reads, which is another challenge sometimes we face. Meter readers take a certain amount of time to read the bills. This allows you to read the bill consistently. First of every month, if you decide to do that, I know I'm going to get a read. Whereas sometimes you might see one is 29 days, the other one is 35 days, right? And that 6-day window changes
It makes
things.
all the difference.
Yes, it does. A customer looks at that and says, why is my bill so high? But they didn't really pay enough attention to the period in which it was read. And that changes things. Now, if you can get consistent reads, you as a customer can budget better, right? As opposed to paying $200 this month and then $500, and you're going to use the other $200 to buy some extra groceries. This makes a significant difference. So it's beneficial to us all.
What about for water, McClure?
For the water business unit, smart metering is not just a revenue initiative, it is a management tool. It provides us data on how our demand fluctuates. It would also help us to reduce our losses. We can now create simple district metered areas by the click of a mouse and capture all the data consistently. In the past, in order to capture this type of information, you would have to have several crews deployed at the same time, and still you would not get accurate information. Now, with smart metering, all you have to do is simply enter your parameters. I want it read at this time. I want these meters read at this time each month, and it's done automatically at the same time.
So in our discussion, it was disclosed that a pilot community has been identified where smart meters have been deployed. That's in the Bath Lodge area. How has that been going?
That has been going very well, but it has not been without hiccups. We've had issues with vandalism though. All right, we have had one of the meters was maliciously damaged using a stone, and the other one, the communication point, was actually removed from the meter. Right? These issues hurt all of us, not just APUA.
I imagine that was a sizable investment to deploy these sorts of meters. What about the cost? Could you give us an idea of what that cost means for investing in smart metering?
Well, I can tell you this much. The price of one smart meter, we could get 8 or 9 mechanical meters. That is substantial, right? But the functionality, the cost is offset by the functionality and increasing accuracy that you get.
So Gavin, how has the pilot been for you as it relates to electricity in the pilot community?
The pilot has actually been successful so far. One of the goals we set was to do the pilot to a point where we could generate a bill. That's the most important thing. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you can generate a bill. We were able to generate a bill with the files that we received from the pilot. So it has been successful. We've had training on the software as well, and they actually showed us all the data that they were able to collect. Significant amount of data. In fact, more data than I think we have enough staff to really peruse the data. So everything that they promised that it could do, it was able to do. We were able to read all the meters that we installed, so we got very good signal, very good range. probably a 2-mile radius we were able to read from where the antenna is to where the endpoints, which are the meters. So it was successful. But what we need to do is to make sure that we're able to read all meters at the same time, dump all the data into our billing platform at the same time, and convince our management that this is a technology that we need to move towards as soon as possible.
And to convince our customers that this is the best way and going to be the way that we're going to move into very soon. But I want to know how many households are a part of this smart community. Do you have a figure?
Yes, well, I have an approximate figure. We have around 100 meters from the electricity side. I think it's around 70 or so water meters. So we're looking at around a sample size of around 100, right? So it's a small sample size, but it pretty much covers a cycle for us. And so we want to do a small sample size first, get it right, and then we can expand upon larger cycles.
Do you think our smart meter will get to the point where we'll be able to top up or do a prepaid system like we see in Dominica?
Absolutely. Actually, the technology that we're using can actually accommodate prepaid. You know, the thing is, we have to make sure we have the business case in place, the need, the require, right? And we have to make sure we have that demand. Where I see the prepaid working very well in Antigua is for landlords, tenants. Especially like we have the AUA, the universities and so forth. We have a lot of college students when it picks back up after COVID, but a lot of college students. That's one of the complaints a lot of landlords sometimes have in terms of college students leaving and leaving outstanding amounts there for the landlords to cover. With the prepaid billing system, I think this would actually help us tremendously in terms of Antigua. So a person would have to decide whether or not it's my phone or it's going to be my water and electricity I top up. So this is going to be very it's going to be very interesting to see. But you know, yes, the platform is capable of accommodating it, but it's a separate platform that has to be attached to the existing one.
Okay, sounds good to me. So what's the plan to phase out the old meters? I imagine it's not going to happen overnight, but I'd like to believe that there's something in place for us to look forward to during the transition to smart metering. What's that plan?
So I would look at that as being still in development, and the reason I say so, we're trying to, as I said before, we're trying to make sure we master the small sample pool first. Once we're able to do that, then we'd now be able to say, all right, fine, this is how we're going to roll out. As of right now, the way I foresee us rolling out is making sure that the meters we now source on an annual basis are smart meters, okay? But it's not even just as simple as just buying the smart meters, because there's going to come a point where if we've saturated how many smart meters we can put within a particular zone, right? Because we're going to now have to install other base stations with antennas in different areas to get the coverage we want. So, I mean, it's a gradual thing, but to me, the way we do it right now, we have 2 base stations up that can cover a very wide area. We can cover probably 5 islands. We can cover Golden Grove. We can cover Bendels. We can cover Radio Range. We can cover a significant portion of St. John's as well. And I think what we need to do is to now just, as we purchase meters and deploy within those areas, saturate those areas, then expand to the other areas where we now have to buy more base stations. But this is going to be a discussion moving forward. So until we've mastered this small sample size, I think then we'd be able to be in a better position, probably for another discussion, to tell you exactly how we're going to roll out.
Good point. So I don't want to be premature in asking this question, but have you also entertained the thoughts about how it would be deployed for water, McClure?
Well, the plan for prepaid water meters is not new. We actually introduced that sometime in 2008, and unfortunately, it did not get any traction. It was actually shut down by certain operatives within the society. So, but a prepaid water meter is now an additional cost. It is now almost twice the price of the present smart meter that we're using, because you would appreciate that our meters are electronic, but they don't use electricity like the electric meters. They use batteries. Now, meters with batteries are more expensive. Their prepaid meters also come with a valve that could automatically shut off. So if you don't pay, that valve, using the same battery life, closes and restricts flow. Right? Now that is what those additional functionality is what you're paying for, along with the additional battery life, which makes it in the region of like $400 you're talking about. So yeah, it is substantial. We actually have 5 of those meters. Well, not prepaid, but have remote functionality where we could actually disconnect remotely and all that, with the same function that the prepaid meters would have. And you can imagine we only have 5 because of the price.
I can appreciate that. But if I were viewing, or I was on the outside of this conversation as a customer, I would, although it's early, want to know if there's any cost that will be transferred to me as a customer through the transition to a smart meter at my property. Which one of you will be able to answer that
Well,
question?
the way I would look at it, and I kind of touched a bit on one of the earlier questions, but APUA's responsibility ends to the meter, right? So
Ends to the meter
it
and
ends at the
includes
meter. It includes the meter, actually. So I personally don't see that there would be a cost to the customer, right? So I think where the cost would come in would be for any services that you can derive from this new technology. So as I was saying, if someone wanted to know what their demand was, or their load profile over the period of a day or a week or a month, and they wanted that level of detail in terms of historical data, that I think is something that APUA could use as a service, or provide a service to a customer in providing them that level of detail. But in terms of the standard, look, read your meter, this is the amount of kilowatt hours I'm using per day and so forth, that data is always available just from your bills, and I'm sure APUA will advance their platform to have even greater detail. So, and I don't think that would be at a cost, but greater detail for the purposes of studies and so forth, I think is something APUA could offer a service at a premium for a customer. Yeah.
A question though, we have a department within APUA that's dedicated to reading meters. If our system was fully automated with our advanced metering infrastructure, AMI, what happens to meter readers?
Well, okay, this would be my my take on it. Of course, it would have to be discussed at a much higher level. But the way I see it is that this project would take a while before it's fully deployed, right? And so you're still going to need meter readers for time to come. And to be honest with you, you will still need meter readers even after there's a full deployment, because the meters still have to be maintained. You still have to monitor the status of the meters. And so you're still going to need people, but just in a different category, a different form, utilized differently, right? And so, I mean, if they're willing to learn it, because it's going to be more technology oriented, if they're willing to learn that, I mean, those opportunities would be available. And also, I'm sure a lot of young individuals work within the metering department, and I mean, they can be redeployed. I mean, the last thing you're looking to do is to bring in the technology to say, all right, fine, it's time to get rid of everybody. No, that's
a fear of technology.
Yeah, but you know what? We shouldn't look at it that way. I mean, we should look at it as a new opportunity to learn something new, because I think that is what's going to come out of it. More opportunities are going to come out to learn something new. And I mean, I think a lot of positions will be filled. And so that's the way I would look at it. But this is time to come. And so we have enough time to plan and to determine how best to utilize the existing resources we have.
Okay, thank you so much, Gavin, and thank you so much, McClure. That brings us to the end of Necessary Conversations. We would like to thank you, viewers, for joining us for this episode of Necessary Conversations, where we had a very important discussion about smart metering. So join us again on Facebook and YouTube for Necessary Conversations with APUA, because next time we're going to have a very important conversation about Potworks Dam. So until then, stay safe and bye-bye.